Robin Williams dropped the microphone. Silence. Then the crowd began singing the words he had spoken years ago. It wasn't planned. It wasn't rehearsed. It was one of those moments that stops time, that cuts through the noise of 1,000 voices and lands directly in the center of a human heart. Robin stood there, motionless, as the words he had once given to the world came back to him, carried by strangers who had never forgotten. This is the story of that night. But to understand what happened on that stage, you need to know what happened long before the lights ever turned on. The Apollo Theater in New York City, 2009. It was supposed to be just another show. Robin Williams was touring again after years of personal struggle, health issues that had kept him away from the stage, and a gnawing sense that maybe the world had moved on without him. Comedy had changed. The internet had created a new generation of performers. And Robin, for all his brilliance, wondered if there was still a place for him. His manager had warned him. "Robin, you don't have to do this. You've already proven everything." But Robin didn't do it to prove anything. He did it because performing was the only place where he felt whole. Where the fractured pieces of his soul could come together, even if just for an hour. But what no one knew was that Robin carried something with him that night. A letter. Folded. Worn. Hidden in the pocket of his jacket. A letter from someone he had never met, but who had changed everything. The show started like any other. Robin walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. He launched into his routine, voices flying, accents shifting, energy radiating. The audience laughed. They cheered. For the first 20 minutes, it was vintage Robin Williams, the man who could make you forget the world existed. But then something shifted. In the third row, a young woman stood up. She wasn't heckling. She wasn't shouting. She was just standing, tears streaming down her face, and she began to speak. Not yell. Speak. Loud enough for Robin to hear. "You saved my brother's life." Robin stopped mid-sentence. The microphone hung loose in his hand. The audience went quiet, confused, uncertain whether this was part of the act. Robin stared at her. And then, slowly, he walked to the edge of the stage, knelt down, and asked her a question no one expected. "What's your brother's name?" "David," she said, her voice breaking. "He died 2 years ago. But before he did, he watched your movies every single day. He had leukemia. He was in so much pain. But when he watched you, he laughed. And when he laughed, he forgot he was dying." The room held its breath. Robin closed his eyes. His hand trembled slightly as he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the folded letter. The one he had been carrying for weeks. The one that had arrived at his management office with no return address, just a name, David. "If you're watching this, please know something. The voice I used to escape wasn't mine. It was yours." Robin had read that letter 100 times. He had memorized every word. And now, in front of 1,000 people, he was face to face with the sister of the boy who wrote it. "I got his letter," Robin said quietly, his voice raw. "I've been carrying it with me every night." The young woman covered her mouth, sobbing. The audience was frozen. This wasn't a bit. This wasn't comedy. This was something else entirely. Something human. Something real. Robin stood up slowly, wiping his eyes. He turned to the audience, and for the first time that night, he wasn't performing. He was just a man. A man who had spent his entire life making people laugh because he didn't know how else to process his own pain. "I don't know if I ever told you this," Robin began, his voice soft but steady. "But comedy, for me, was never about being funny. It was about survival. When I was a kid, I was lonely. I didn't fit in. So I learned to make people laugh because if they were laughing, they couldn't hurt me. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that it wasn't just me who needed that. It was all of us." The crowd was silent. Completely silent. You could hear people breathing. You could feel the weight of what Robin was saying settle into every corner of that theater. David understood that. Robin continued. He understood that laughter isn't just joy. It's armor. It's hope. It's the thing that keeps us going when everything else falls apart. And then, something extraordinary happened. Someone in the back of the theater began to recite one of Robin's most famous lines. A line from Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault. And then another voice joined. And another. Until the entire audience was speaking in unison, repeating the words Robin had spoken on screen years ago, the words that had become a lifeline for so many people. Robin Williams stood there, microphone forgotten, as 1,000 voices became one. And for the first time in years he didn't feel alone. He didn't try to stop them. He didn't interrupt. He just listened. Tears streamed down his face, and he made no effort to hide them. This was the moment he had been searching for his entire life. Not applause. Not laughter. Connection. Real, unfiltered, human connection. When the voices finally faded, Robin lifted the microphone slowly. His hands were shaking. His voice was thick with emotion. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for reminding me why I do this." The audience erupted. Not in laughter. In something deeper. In recognition. In love. People were on their feet, not because they were entertained, but because they had witnessed something sacred. A moment where the mask came off, and what was left was just a human being, standing in front of other human beings, sharing the same pain, the same hope, the same fragile, beautiful need to be seen. If you've felt that connection before, if you've ever needed someone's words to keep you going, subscribe and leave a comment. Because the most powerful moment of Robin's life is still ahead. After the show, Robin went backstage. He sat alone in his dressing room, the letter still in his hand. His manager knocked softly before entering. "That was incredible, Robin. People are calling it the most powerful performance of your career." Robin didn't respond immediately. He just stared at the letter, tracing the handwriting with his finger. "It wasn't a performance," he said finally. "It was the first time I let them see me." His manager sat down beside him. "What are you going to do with the letter?" Robin folded it carefully and placed it back in his jacket pocket. "I'm going to keep carrying it. Every show. Every night. Because David reminded me of something I forgot. That the people who need us most are the ones we'll never meet. And that's okay. Because the work we do, the words we say, they travel further than we ever will." The Apollo show became legendary. Clips circulated online. People wrote about it. Critics called it a turning point. But for Robin, it wasn't about the attention. It was about the realization that his life's work wasn't about making people laugh. It was about making them feel less alone. In the months that followed, Robin carried David's letter to every performance. He never read it aloud again. He didn't have to. It had already done its job. It had reminded him that art isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up, even when you're broken, and trusting that your brokenness might be exactly what someone else needs to see. Robin Williams performed for many more years after that night. But those who were there, in the Apollo Theater in 2009, never forgot what they witnessed. It wasn't the jokes they remembered. It wasn't the impressions. It was the moment when Robin Williams stopped being a performer and became a mirror, reflecting back to all of us the truth we're too afraid to say out loud, that we're all just trying to survive, and sometimes, laughter is the only thing that keeps us from falling apart. David's sister, whose name was Emily, later said in an interview, "Robin gave my brother laughter when he had nothing else. But that night, my brother gave Robin something too. He gave him permission to be human." The letter Robin carried was never made public. It remained private, sacred. But its impact was undeniable. It changed the way Robin approached his work. He stopped chasing laughs and started chasing connection. And in doing so, he created some of the most profound, honest, vulnerable performances of his career. Years later, when people asked Robin about that night, he would smile that soft, bittersweet smile of his and say, "I thought I was there to entertain them. But they were there to save me." But there was more to that night than anyone knew. After the standing ovation finally ended, after the theater slowly emptied and the lights dimmed, Robin sat alone on the edge of the stage. His feet dangled over the orchestra pit. The silence that had once terrified him now felt like an old friend. Emily, David's sister, hadn't left. She stood in the aisle, clutching her purse, uncertain whether she should approach or disappear into the New York night. Robin saw her. He waved her over. She climbed the stairs to the stage slowly, like she was walking through a dream. When she reached him, Robin patted the space beside him. They sat together, two strangers bound by a boy either of them could save. "Tell me about him," Robin said softly. Emily's voice cracked as she spoke. "He was 12 when he got sick. The treatments were brutal. He lost his hair, his energy, his childhood. But he never lost his laugh. Not completely. Your movies played on a loop in his hospital room. Mrs. Doubtfire. Aladdin. Good Will Hunting. The nurses knew all your lines because David would recite them while they drew blood." Robin listened, tears streaming freely now. No cameras. No audience. Just two people sharing grief. "He wrote that letter a week before he died." Emily continued. "He made me promise to send it. He said, Robin needs to know he's not just making people laugh. He's keeping them alive." Robin's breath caught. He pulled the letter from his pocket again, unfolding it with trembling hands. He read it aloud, his voice breaking on every word. "Dear Robin, you don't know me, but I know you. I've spent more time with you than anyone else this year. When the pain gets too bad and the medicine stops working, I close my eyes and I hear your voice. You become the genie, and suddenly I'm not in a hospital bed. I'm flying over Agrabah. I'm free. If you're reading this, please know something. The voice I used to escape wasn't mine. It was yours. Thank you for giving me a world where I didn't have to be sick. Thank you for reminding me that even when life is cruel, there's still magic. I won't get to grow up. But because of you, I got to laugh. And that's enough. Love, David." The silence that followed was sacred. Emily reached over and held Robin's hand. "He loved you," she whispered. "I never met him," Robin said, his voice raw. "And he saved my life." That moment, sitting on that empty stage with a grieving sister and a letter from a boy who understood him better than most, changed Robin Williams forever. He stopped running from his pain. He stopped hiding behind characters and voices. He learned that vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was the most courageous thing a human being could offer. In the years that followed, Robin carried David's letter everywhere. Not just to performances, but to interviews, to film sets, to quiet moments alone when the darkness threatened to swallow him whole. The letter became his anchor. A reminder that his life had meaning beyond the laughter, beyond the fame, beyond the applause. He started a foundation in David's name. Quietly. Without fanfare. It provided entertainment systems for children's hospitals across the country. Tablets loaded with movies. Comedy specials. Cartoons. Anything that could offer a few moments of escape to kids fighting battles they shouldn't have to fight. Emily became part of Robin's life. Not in a big way, but in the way that matters. Birthday cards. Occasional phone calls. A shared understanding that some losses connect people in ways that joy never could. Share this story if you believe that vulnerability is strength. Subscribe so his legacy of connection and humanity will never be forgotten. Robin Williams taught us that comedy is more than entertainment. It's a lifeline. It's a bridge between strangers. It's proof that even in our darkest moments, we're not alone. And sometimes, the greatest gift we can give someone isn't laughter. It's the courage to cry. That night at the Apollo wasn't just a performance. It was a testament to the power of human connection. To the idea that our words, our actions, our presence can ripple out into the world in ways we'll never fully understand. David never met Robin. But his words reached him. And Robin's words reached David. And in that exchange, something beautiful happened. Two people, separated by circumstance, connected by pain, found healing in each other's existence. This is what art does. This is what vulnerability does. It reminds us that we're all carrying letters in our pockets. We're all holding on to words that saved us. And sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is share them. Robin Williams stopped everything that night. But in stopping, he found what he had been searching for all along. Not applause. Not fame. Just the simple, profound truth that he mattered. That his life had meaning. That somewhere out there, a boy named David had lived a little longer, laughed a little harder, and hurt a little less because Robin Williams existed. And in the end, isn't that all any of us really want? To know that we mattered. That we made a difference. That our presence in this world left it a little softer, a little kinder, a little more human. Robin Williams did that. Not because he was perfect, but because he was brave enough to be broken in front of us. And in his brokenness, we found permission to be broken too. And in that shared brokenness, we found something resembling grace.